I don't think I do that whole like wait and stare at the screen and see who's showing up quite as good as Ricky does. So I'm just gonna dive right in. Hey guys, as you can see, DL is unfortunately not with me tonight. Things switched around. We're just doing it a little different tonight. But that's okay. She's with us here in unicorn spirit. That's what we'll say. And I don't feel right doing the Darude entry without her, without our sweet dance moves. So, like, I could sing for you guys, but I'm not going to because, I just don't think you need that torture right now. But so tonight, guys, I want to talk about something that has kind of come up a lot in my personal conversations over the last week. Not only that, but I feel like just across the board for a lot of people, this topic has been coming up, or the need to talk about this topic has been coming up. We've been seeing a lot of pretty crazy astral energy happening with kind of ending the whole month in Cancer, and I'm not going to pretend like I know all of the ins and outs of that, but I do know how it's affected everybody, just sort of in that place where we're really kind of almost feeling like we don't have a choice but to slow down. We don't have a choice but to start letting things coming up to the surface, because right now, big time of processing stuff, big time of letting things come to the surface that aren't necessarily needed anymore. And as we move and approach into the new moon in Leo on Sunday, not only that, but we're going to have the sun, the moon, both in Leo. And there's another one, like it's like a Leo party, which I'm a Leo, just saying. My birthday, I'll be 30 on August 20th. It's a big, big one. So moving into this whole brand new time of Leo, which is exciting. So really what we're talking about right now, and I'll introduce the topic, we're talking about taking space. And I mean, sure, you hear that dropped all over the place in personal development worlds. And say hi, whoever's watching here. I'm glad to see. I think I see Jay. Thanks. The likes, thumbs up. So taking space, we see that word dropped everywhere in our personal development circles. If you follow a bunch of people on Instagram, Facebook, any of those things, any teachers, you kind of hear a lot about it, and it's kind of maybe talked about in a lot of different ways. Taking space, self-care, rest, the need for rest, all of these terms. So I really want to talk about that because I think it is so valuable, and I've been actually inspired by Ricky's experience over the last couple of weeks, my own experience over the last couple of weeks, even starting our group coaching program this past Monday, listening to a lot of things that people are saying really highlighted for me the importance of taking space. I don't think a lot of people, maybe some people have icky feelings that come up when they think about that. Maybe that means they feel rejected or, a number of things. So I think it's important to really talk about the importance of it. So first, I'd like to start by really defining it, telling you what I think it means, because of course everybody's experience is different. So when I say taking space, taking rest, that looks like really time alone and self-care. Those two things in particular. So time alone, really truly meaning time alone, quiet, by yourself, not with another person, not even with your significant other, just yourself. And that in itself might bring up icky feelings for people, because a lot of people don't spend a lot of time on their own. And, that saying, it's like, if you can't spend 10 seconds with yourself, then, you might want to take a bigger look at that, So really ask yourself that question. Can you spend 10 minutes alone and not freak out and got to look at your phone, got to pick up a book, got to put on something on the TV? How are you with that? Can you spend time alone? Do you enjoy time alone? Do you crave it? Do you not get enough? Where are you on that spectrum? And then the other part of it is self-care. So in that time alone, what are you doing? Are you just binge watching something on Netflix? Are you just reading garbage, maybe gossip magazines or something like that? Are you out shopping? Are you out consuming in some way? What are you doing with that time alone? What does your self-care look like? Is it productive? Is it filling you up? And we're going to get back to that at the end. So let's keep defining it. What is it? What does it mean? And really, I'm talking about the idea of taking space in relationships, romantic or friendships, family relationships, all varieties. Also for personal healing. So maybe you're going through something traumatic. Maybe you're going through something like grief, and you need that time alone in order to process. Also, another way that taking space and time alone is really important and shows up is when you're making a really big decision. So that could look like, for, let's say, someone who's coming out of high school. Do I go to secondary education? Do I go to college? Do I go to university? Do I take vocational school? Like, what do I do? Making those kinds of big decisions. And they could be big decisions even in relationships. Do I stay or do I go? Do I move in? Do we have a baby? Do we get married? All of these kinds of big decisions require some time alone, some you time. Another way it shows up is when you're feeling overworked. So, when we look at this whole brand new, amazing, ever expanding industry of energy healers, service workers, everybody in the helping professions, especially if you are someone who works where you're touching people all the time. Massage therapists, physiotherapists, Reiki practitioners. Sometimes you touch, sometimes you don't. Any of those types of things. If you are someone where you are connecting with humans all of the time, or you're taking on and working with other people's energies, even pets, because there's, as a veterinarian, doctor, any of those things, you're integrated into the family experience and that. So taking space, taking time alone and for self-care becomes very important in a lot of these aspects. And I'm sure there are many more. Let me know in the comment section if you can think of others that I'm missing there, because some people might need to hear it. So considering all of that, thinking about, okay, yeah, I'm really busy. Even, as a mom, as a dad, as a parent, as a grandparent, if you're that person who ends up raising the child, or really a significant part of their raising that child, do you have that time? Do you take it? Do you prioritize it? So I also want to dive into, we're thinking about a few examples here of how, in specific examples of really when we're looking at it being important to take that space. I think it's important all the time, and I think we need a balance in our lives. But often these are the times that really start to make us become very acutely aware of it, in that really right here in that situation. Even, another example I just thought of was my sister when she was in doing her master's, taking space from the content, taking space from how intensely she was working. It's quite the slog, this intense 2-year experience with this same small group of people, really, really rigorous work and deep work, and taking space from that. She went nearly crazy. I remember there's times where I was just like, you gonna be okay, girl? Let's, whoa, and it's like that. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So let's talk about signs that you need to take space. And I mean, there are a lot of them, right? But I want to talk about really big, prominent ones that can be key, good triggers for you to think about. So number one is repeating cycles. So if you're seeing yourself repeating a pattern over and over and over again, if you keep thinking the same thoughts over and over and over again, maybe let's do an example in a relationship. So you've had, a series of small little things that have built up. Maybe you've repressed them. And then all of a sudden you end up having a big blowout fight. And that big blowout fight turns into a couple of days. And you're not really getting over it. Things keep coming up. You keep rehashing the same shit over and over and over and over again. I mean, I know I've been in relationships like that, right? And where you just keep having the same conversation over and over and over again. Nothing's getting solved. You just keep cycling, recycling, going through the same crap. Taking space in that moment can do a number of things for the relationship and probably actually save it. But that takes a skill in order to recognize that. So that being one of the signs, recycling patterns, recycling conversations, constantly repeating the same shit and getting nowhere. That one. You see that can exist in not only intimate relationships, but you're going to see that a lot in coworker relationships. You're going to see that a lot in family relationships. Maybe there's a grudge. Maybe there's some sort of deep, long-standing crap that nobody's actually talking about, nobody's dealing with. But when they do, it's the same argument over and over and over again. Definitely right there. Even with your, I don't have kids yet, but I can only imagine, even with kids, it's just having the same argument over and over and over again, to the point where you're getting so frustrated that you're compromising your values, you're compromising your parenting system, right? You're getting overly angry, you're getting overly dominant, overly controlling. So being able to recognize that in that moment and step back and take that space is, again, a skill. So that's that big one. So it's almost like you become numb to solutions, right? So you're having, maybe let's just go back to that relationship example, and you're having this fight that's maybe lasted 2 or 3 days, and you continue to have those big cycling conversations that are just the same stuff over and over again. And maybe there's some brilliant stuff in there. Maybe somebody, one or the other, is coming up with some really great solutions, some really great ideas to move forward. But it's just, you're so backlogged with the argument, you're so backlogged with the crap that you become numb to the solutions. You become numb to hearing the genius that's coming out of that other person's mouth. So therein, lies the beauty of had you taken the space to de-log, that's not a word, but you know what I mean, to de-stress, take all the stuff away, that you might have been able to hear a way to move forward. So, okay, so the next thing is I want to talk about another way. Yeah, no, Jay, that's absolutely right. True. Yeah. So Jay said, I think the more time you spend with yourself, the better all your relationships will be. More time alone, the more time to think and understand yourself. And when you truly understand yourself, it's much easier to get others where they're coming from on all levels. 100%. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And therein lies that beauty of taking that space and that time alone, right? Like, and really being able to find the moment when it's knocking on the door, being like, okay, you need the time alone right now to figure out that and go back to that place of, so you can think and understand, right? Like, clear the air so you can think and hear yourself and know yourself. 100%, totally agree, Jay. So another one, and I want to come back to my first examples there. So thinking about making decisions and thinking about even things like grief. So the number 2 reason or signs that, will let you know, tip you off that you do need that space, is that you're being influenced. And this totally speaks to your point, Jay, that you're being influenced by another person's opinion. So especially around decisions, especially around maybe how you want to process or how you need to process grief, or, come to a conclusion of some kind. So when you've got a whole lot of other people, because maybe you're not spending enough time alone, or you're not taking that time for self-care of any kind, it can be increasingly difficult to actually analyze or know yourself enough to come to that decision. Come to a place where you can actually see a conclusion or see a decision clearly. So I just want to give a personal example. And if you guys have some, please share, because I like sharing. So uh, when I left my previous relationship before Reiki, it was very abusive at that point, and that was for a number of reasons. I mean, both people are involved in that, right? We all contribute. We have to take responsibility for everything. And I needed to make a decision because I knew it wasn't working. I was in Vancouver. I needed to figure it out because what was happening was tearing us both apart. So I took that time. I had a few days off, and I took the time to spend a significant time. For me, nature is where I do my alone time, and that really fills me up. So I spent a significant time at the beach and just with the ocean, listening, connecting to the waves crashing, allowing it to connect to my heartbeat, and really being one with that. And being able to do that, I was able to get quiet enough to sit down and ask myself those important questions. Do I stay? No. Is this person the right person for me? No. So able to get quiet enough, able to get alone enough to understand where I needed to go, to make a decision. And because that time was spent just me and the water and my heartbeat, I was able to know that those decisions were rock solid. They were 110% my own and nobody else's, zero influence. So then that just made making that decision and following through on that, all of the different things that needed to happen after making that decision, so much easier. So number three, I want to talk about feeling stuck in grief or feeling stuck in the processing of trauma. So even that experience that I was just sharing, same sort of idea, totally a lot of grief, a lot of trauma. This was a relationship that had been going on and off for almost 12 years of my life. So significant threads weaved in and out of both of our lives. There was a lot there, right? So a lot of grief. And because of the level of, emotional abuse and things that were happening for both of us, it was this, you just get trapped. You get trapped in this like mindset of, is it always going to be this way? And you get dull, right? You get dull and it's hard to hear anything else. It's hard to hear how you need to make decisions, how to move forward, how to get out of that place. And so often when that's happening, we get stuck in that victim mindset. So just like Ricky was talking about on last Wednesday or yesterday, it's when we start talking to other people about it, when we start kind of rolling it over and over and over and over in our head, we can totally get stuck in that place where poor me, I'm always abused. I'm always this. It's always going to be this way. Will I ever feel this again? We get stuck there and we start blaming the other person. We can't take responsibility for our part in the relationship. We can't move forward. So taking that time alone, taking that space is incredibly, incredibly important because you need to be able to, as Jay said, try to understand yourself and truly get to that place so you can actually put one foot in front of the other and move in the direction that is yours. So the fourth one that I want to talk about that is a really big sign that you need that time alone or that space. And this is going to fall in that category of people who are energy workers or anybody in the helping profession. Like I said, anybody especially those who are touching others or who are really right all up in their bubble, in their auric field. And you're, exchanging energy, you're giving energy, you're feeding, you're filling up, all of these things. If you are one of those people and, my immediate thought goes to, someone like my mom who is directly involved in the patient experience at hospitals. And she actually deals with people who are experiencing grief or have an issue with how their care has been managed. And they would come to my mother in order to mediate that in a way. So here's a person who is, their very job is actually to deal with discomfort, to deal with dissatisfaction, unsatisfaction, not a word. Again, I'm just making shit up, making words up, but I know you guys know what I mean. So to dealing with dissatisfaction. So here you are, that's your job, that's how you make your money. So, which is great, and it's absolutely needed, and she's amazing at it, but it has its toll, it has its price, right? So the fourth one is burnout. Or hopefully you are able to recognize that before that happens, because it can be much more difficult to come back from a burnout, but the verge of burnout. So if you're feeling that verge of burnout, like your hair standing on end, like every little thing is getting under your nerves, even just driving to work, somebody cuts you off, and normally maybe that wouldn't bother you, but that day or those weeks, it's driving you up the wall, and you're noticing that your fuse is this short, or you're burning the candle at both ends, right? You can't get up in the morning anymore. You go to bed really early at night, and then you start compromising things in your eating habits, eating bad, just rushing things, or, not connecting with your family members anymore. You're not being present anymore. These are all signs that you're burning out. Things are not, you don't have gusto anymore. You don't have the energy. Your cup is depleting. You're pouring, maybe it's not empty at this point, but right. It's going. So that is a key right there. Time out, time alone, self-care, ding, 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 ding. Don't ignore it, because I'm telling you, and you can't lie to me through the internet, that when that's happening. You can feel it in your gut. You can feel it in your body. Your body's getting tense, maybe in your shoulders. Some people, maybe in your jaw, in your forehead. You're seeing it. Like for me, it's all in my jaw. I bite my cheeks. I'm a cheek biter. So those are my signs that things are not going okay. I need to chill out for a minute. Or, especially if you work with clients, you're not helping anybody anymore. Your attention is drifting when you're talking. You're not able to actually communicate anything that is helping them. I mean, maybe a little bit. You can't really speak for somebody else's experience, right? Of course. But you're not doing your best, and that your gut is telling you that. So those are the signs. Take a listen. Pay attention. It's in your best interest. And trust me, self-care can be a lot of fun. So look forward to it. So those being those 4 signs. So repeating cycles, shit's going in a circle over and over and over again. You're finding yourself being very influenced by other people, that, you're not really making decisions for yourself anymore. You're constantly maybe looking for validation from an outside source, or, you're looking to be like, am I on the right track? Somebody tell me. Or number 3, feeling stuck in that grief or that trauma, feeling very, very locked into that victim mindset, and not even being able to process or understand, or, in a lot of cases, forgetting who you are, right? To Jay's point there, forgetting who just you are in order to actually keep moving forward. And then number 4, that burnout or the verge of burnout. So why is this important? And what to do, and the important things to remember when you're like, okay, yeah, I got maybe 1, 2, or all 4 of those things happening. So then now what do I do? So let's talk about that. So I wrote down some things that I think are really important to remember about taking space, because I think this is from my experience. I've had the privilege to be in an absolutely amazing relationship in the last 2 years that has taught me so much about being a human, and communication and an experience. And that's translated into my family experiences, That's translated into being able to think about myself differently. And so these are some of the things that I have really learned through not only that relationship, but my past relationships and my own experience through dramatic changes in my health. Number one, the longer that you avoid taking that space when you need it, the more the stress builds up, resentment builds up, hatred builds up, blame builds up, confusion builds up. And that's a big one, confusion, because then all of a sudden you got like 1,000 different thoughts going on in your head and like have no idea how to pick what you need or listen to yourself anymore. So the longer that you spend, case in point, the example I was sharing earlier, that 12-year relationship on and off where, I had massive moments of clarity that was not where I needed to be, but was so influenced by this other person and, codependent on that situation that I was unable to see anything about it, right? I was unable to get clear. It was too long, held on too long for all the wrong reasons. So, I mean, I wouldn't take it back because I'm here where I am now and I love where I'm at now. But the point being, the longer that you avoid taking that space, the longer that you avoid getting quiet and getting the answers, the higher the stress levels come, the more potential that you have for chronic health stuff to start happening, the higher the potential you have to really even lose it totally, right? So things like resentment, blame, and confusion, hatred, dissatisfaction, guilt, shame, all of those things that we hold on to and bring inside of us when we are not allowing ourselves the space or time in order to process stuff is poison. It's literally poison to our bodies. Please understand that. Like, please do yourself that favor and avoid that. Listen to your body. Number two, really important things to remember about taking space. And this is the part that I was talking about earlier where it becomes an art. This is a skill. And it's hard. This is a really hard one for a lot of people. But once you've mastered it, it becomes easier and easier and easier. So every opportunity that you have, I want you to practice this. Ask for it. Ask for what you need in any relationship. Ask for what you need from yourself. And that ties into listening to your body. How often do you sit down and scan your body and find out where you're holding that stress? Where am I not paying attention? What am I not listening to? What's showing up? Are you getting some like weird funky rashes? Right? Maybe you're not drinking enough water. Are your hips locked and tight? Is your arthritis acting up? Is what's happening in your body? Is your hair falling out? Do you have bags under your eyes? There's so many little telltale signs that your body is trying to communicate with you. Like, our bodies are geniuses. Please, like, miracles. Like, we take a banana and eat it, and it becomes fuel for our body and energy. Like, that shit is so cool. That is alchemy, right? So listening to those things, asking your body what's going on. So being able to ask not only your body, yourself, but your significant other, your family members, your friends, your co-workers, anybody that you spend a large amount of time with that plays a role in these situations. Being able to ask for what you need. And so I want to just, which is like, so again, that ties into that repression, right? Like, so if me talking about that brings something up for you, right there, listen. So that's a sign to start practicing it, and even do it in the small little ways. You know what I mean? Asking for, I don't know, maybe you go to Tim Hortons every morning and, what's a thing that you could ask for in Tim Hortons? Maybe you get a tea every morning and it's really hot, so you could practice asking for a double cup. Or that's kind of a bad example because I actually don't, that's garbage. So don't do that, actually. What's a good example? Okay, maybe you come home and, you're really tired and like everything's great in your relationship, but, you're really, really tired and you want some help making dinner. So just practice asking that. Practice asking for some help making dinner. Practice even maybe asking your kids to clean up after themselves. Practice, okay, so DL, perfect example. And that's why I laughed when she said, is there any way I can not do this video? I've got all this stuff going on and I just can't. And I just laughed and I was like, how hilarious with what we're talking about right now. And I just said, you get kudos, extra kudos for you for being able to ask for what you need. Ask for the support that you need. So gold star for you, DL. And so number 3, something really important. And again, when I say this one, if for you there's something that's coming up and you're feeling like, man, that would be really hard, I would spend some time with this because it's an important one, and it's something that I really and I'm only saying that because honest to God, I just learned this lesson, and I think Ricky did too. So being able to take the space. So asking for it is step number 1, right? Let's say you're in that, we'll go back to that example that I was talking about earlier with the couple fighting, and it turns into something that's lasting for 2 or 3 days, and you're going through that cycle. You're going through that, having the same conversation over and over again, having the same fight, and it just ends up blowing up. Asking for the space is step number 1, and that's hard enough, absolutely. But being able to actually take it is very important and actually quite liberating. Being able to actually be comfortable to take that space because you know you need it, so you've asked. Good, step number 1. Moving into the next part. Actually taking the space, and I don't mean just for an hour, I mean a couple of days, maybe more, to allow yourself to have that room to come back to yourself, to come back to actually understanding how you feel about the situation, coming back to actually understanding your needs, your wants, your requirements in a relationship. So then when you come back to that conversation, you know what you need. You know what you need to talk about. You've got solutions. You've gone from problem to solution. So feeling safe to actually do that, even though it might scare you a little bit, is a huge sign that, maybe you've had codependency issues in the past. Maybe that, if that scares you, that's a big sign right there about codependency, right? About tendencies and patterns and that. So being able to actually take that space without being like calling right away or texting right away or emailing, whatever you do to communicate that isn't actually speaking face to face. Or, even in a coworker situation, not maybe you've had a conversation with your boss and they've explained or shared something with you that they're like, maybe we need to work on this and like take a few days to think about that. Like, do we want to move forward on that? And not just like automatically running back to their office and be like, oh, well, we can do this and we can do this, and totally sucking up, right? Even that. So actually being able to take that space and work with it and actually use it for what you've asked it for, what you've asked for it for. Yeah, okay. Is huge. And it's, so like I said, I just really, having gone through this experience recently, and being able to trust that everything was great in my relationship still, and this was actually going to be something that was going to benefit both of us and push us forward, and was what a huge growing experience for me. And I know it was for Ricky too, because I know we've both gone through the same things and struggled with the same things in relationships. So for both of us to be able to have that capacity and learn that much from it has just been amazing, and showing just how beneficial, you hear people talk about it. Like I said in the beginning of the video, you hear it being talked about. Taking space can be the best thing for a marriage, can be the best thing for a relationship, can be the best thing for this. Is it? Like, I don't know. I've never done that before. But so actually having gone through it and lived it, I can honestly, Scout's honor. What Scout says? Like this? Yeah, Scout's honor. It was and is the best thing, because you truly do come back. It's having time to miss one another. It's having time to appreciate one another. It's having time to build up your individuality again. That my better half, right? Like, what? Yuck. Like, what, half a person? Do you really want to be with a half a person? Is that a thing? Like, 1 + 1 = 3, right? Like, so being able to go your separate ways for a couple of days, a week, whatever it is, and actually be able to trust that what you're going through and what you're doing is only going to make your relationship stronger, is only going to grow you both individually, is fucking magical. It really, truly is. And finally being able to understand that has just given a whole new meaning to it for me. So that's why I really wanted to share that, and that make that point, that it allows you to drop, and in the spirit of all of our astrological goodness, of letting things go and dropping and like starting new, fresh on the new moon. Yes, absolutely, Nicola. Time for yourself is everything, because how do you expect a marriage to last 30, 40, 50, 60, if you're lucky, living healthy and doing all the stuff, years, if you don't take time for yourself? If you become this like half a person that's totally codependent on this other person to validate you and anything in your life, or to decide what you're going to do, maybe the next thing that you're going to be interested in, to just kind of say, yeah, okay, I guess we can, sit and watch the show, or I guess we can sit and go visit your mom, or go to visit this, or go here for Christmas dinner, or whatever, you know what I mean? All the typical stuff. If those are the things that you're always budging on, and you're not allowing yourself to have that individual room, because back to Jay's point there, you don't know yourself because you don't take time for yourself. What's that going to do? Eventually you just get bored, and then you just get angry. And then we go right back into that cycle of repression, anger, blame, dissatisfaction. And then a whole lot of other things can happen once you're at that point, right? So if it means taking time for yourself and acknowledging the your gut talking to you, or the back of your head, however you like to picture it, your intuition talking to you, saying, hey, Jules, you're forgetting yourself. Who are you anymore? Or like, what's going on here? And I just gotta say, like, I haven't had that. Oh no, that's okay. Let's be honest here, maybe in the beginning, but now in this whole exploration, this personal journey that I've gone on, like, it's dissolving at a rapid rate, and that any of those past tendencies towards codependency are just not really there anymore, and they continue to just melt and melt and melt away, and surprise me constantly, both me and Ricky, when we're realizing that, and you just like have this whole amount of freedom. So if it means taking that time on your own in order to do that, like, are you willing to take that time and explore yourself if it means that your marriage lasts for 30, 40 years? Right? Like, yeah, hell yeah. And like, just saying, like, I don't know about you guys, but I fucking love being on my own. I love being able to be in my own space and create and explore and, laugh at my own jokes. Clearly, you're watching me do it already. Like, I laugh at myself the most. And singing songs and just making shit up and being silly and, being myself. So if you forget that, like, that's the reason why somebody falls in love with you in the first place. So if it just all dissolves in this big heaping pile of codependency because you get scared that you're going to lose a person, you're going to lose that feeling, or even in at work, right? Like even in those relationships, or even family members, like, personal example, saying, I'm vegetarian now, guys. Like when I come to Christmas dinner, I'm not going to eat the turkey. Like, I realize that just sounds so fucking privileged too. Like, sorry, I'm not going to eat your turkey at this beautiful meal that my, family that's still all together gets to have. Like, I get it, guys. I totally get it. But the thing is that even in that in itself, that's just my experience. Even being able to stand in that on your own 2 feet and walk that path is incredibly liberating. And once you get a taste for it, once you understand how important that is, you'll never go back. So it's just getting over that fear of, if any of that's coming up for you when we're talking about that last point, being able to take space in a relationship is very important. I'm here to tell you it is worth it. So what does that look like? And that's to cap it all off. What does taking time for yourself, taking time for self-care, and especially in, any of these things that we're talking about, relationships, in personal healing or grief or trauma, in making decisions, in that feeling of burnt out, overworked, especially in those helping professions. What does that look like? What does it mean to actually take time for yourself and self-care? And that's the fun part that I was talking about. Nice, Nicola. I love it. When I say I need downtime, my husband gets it and disappears. Good man. You've explained yourself well. And that's also half the battle, right? Being able, and that comes back down to that asking for it, right? Communicating well enough to say, and so he knows, I need downtime means bye. Doesn't mean I don't love you anymore and we're in a fight. It means I just need some downtime and I'm going to go chill over here and I'll check you later. Like, that's good, healthy communication. Being able to learn each other's language, learn what it means, read the body language, read the signs, right? Understand what's happening. Even if you are in an argument, or just even communicating, talking, and things are getting heated, being able to realize, okay, something's happening. Yeah, I love you, but yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. 100%. And even even being able to do that as a mother, even being able to do that as a father, a parent, being able to say, okay, guys, mom loves you, but gonna go read in her bedroom for a couple minutes. You guys are cool, right? Everybody's happy. Cool, check you later. Like, even being able to do that, I realize at a certain age that is hard to do, but once your kids get old enough that they are self-sufficient and able to they're not going to kill themselves by hanging out, right? Like, they get it. Being able to take that time and really start to do that as soon as you're able. So learning each other's language, I love that. So what does that look like? What does that look like? And maybe those of you who are watching, give me some examples. What are your favorite ways for self-care? What does that mean to you? And that could mean a lot of different things. And that's why, back to Jay's point, truly understanding yourself becomes really important, because then you know what you actually need. Then you know your own language. What do you need on your own? So for me, sometimes that means just going out into nature and being quiet and going for a walk by myself, nobody else, and taking a really long time. Walking like really slow. Ricky calls me molasses because I just like to mosey. I like to call it, I'm loungy. Not lazy, loungy. When I'm feeling in that self-care mode and feeling in that kind of hibernation mode, I move at a snail's pace, and that is what allows me to regenerate. And if I'm doing that outside, if I'm doing that especially by water, that fills me up. It looks like floating. I Nicola. Nicola is, I don't know if you guys know this, but Nicola is the wonderful Lindsay McPhee's mother who owns the Flotation Center in Halifax. So an amazing place for self-care. If you've never done it before, I highly recommend it. It's great to even get over that, even if you've got any stuff around being alone for a longer period of time. It's a great way to kind of experience that in a therapeutic sense, because not only are you spending time with your own thoughts, your own, you float for about an hour and 15 minutes. Oh, great. You're going tomorrow? Nice. Awesome. Yeah, I just went yesterday. It was fantastic. Yeah, so not only are you in there for, an hour and 15 minutes on your own, really processing your own thoughts, really being quiet with yourself, like literally quiet, like you've got earplugs on, it's dark, total sensory deprivation, right? You're also floating in, I think, what is it, 1,000 pounds or 800 pounds of therapeutic grade Epsom salts. So that is allowing your body to detoxify. It's allowing your muscles to heal. It's serving a number of self-care places all at once in this beautiful package of an hour and 15 minutes all to your own. Well, and actually your appointment's like 2 hours, so you've got time to like chill out after, and it's just a really lovely experience if you haven't done it before. So to that point, self-care can look like anything. It can look like getting a massage. It can look like, going out and treating yourself to a meal at your absolutely favorite restaurant. It can look like going to the movies by yourself, like in the middle of the afternoon and nobody knows you're there. It can look like, maybe getting your nails done. And I realize that's not girly, actually. Men can do that too. Going to the spa. Treating yourself, even at home, you know what I mean? I like to do that. I'll disappear for a couple hours and go do a face mask and just pamper myself into total comfort and total bliss. That can mean, maybe even if, and let's go to one of the examples in personal healing or maybe trauma or grief. That can look like, maybe even spending that time in nature and just crying, allowing yourself to release, allowing yourself to sleep, allowing yourself to take the day off, close the blinds, find your favorite PJs, get super cozy, turn your phone off, be on your own, be in your own bubble, and really just power down. That, maybe you have a daily ritual of self-care, which I highly recommend. Maybe that looks like meditating in the morning. Maybe that looks like a solid rule that you never waver on. Phones off at 9 o'clock, internet off at 9 o'clock, and you're not engaging, even TV off at 9 o'clock, and maybe you read your book after that. Looking at ways to keep your mind and your body healthy on a daily basis. Eating really well. Maybe you love cooking. So maybe experimenting with new recipes or looking up new diets, understanding new things in nutrition. Maybe that's self-care for you. Maybe you get excited about that and it fills you up. Maybe it's painting, gardening. I know for my mom, it was like spending hours in her garden on the weekends. That filled her up. That gave her a lot, right? So spending the time alone to actually find out what you like is really important. Another thing that I love to do in Halifax, and then just throw it out there for those of you who might be interested, who are like to be creative in the painting and kind of drawing sense, is Clay Cafe. It's a wonderful experience. You can go and choose a project, and they've got like a million different things there at all times, and you can spend anywhere. They hold it there for you for the maximum, I think, is a month, and you can go in and work just for an hour on a project and kind of break it up. I used to love doing that. I'd take my headphones, totally in your zone, creating projects, presents for people, things that you can have in your own home that you're proud of. So and they're open till 12 p.m. on Friday nights. So that's kind of nice too, if you have an opportunity to get away and go on your own and just like to do kind of fun stuff like that. So really, it's your space. That's the whole point. So time alone, taking space is yours. Make it yours. Have fun. exploring what you enjoy. Use that opportunity to, maybe it's checking out different music. Maybe it's, going to a different show, exploring, picking up the coast and finding all the different things that they have in the city for that week and picking one or two of them that you're going to go to just for you. Or, planning a date night. Sometimes that can be it too. If you have children and you don't have a lot of time to connect as a couple again, picking a date night that you do every week, and that's self-care for your relationship. It's really about putting that time and that investment of energy into yourself. So, just to recap, what is it all about taking space? Really about the key being, taking time alone so you can understand yourself, and pairing that with self-care. So again, that shows up relationships, personal healing, grief, decisions, overworked, burnout, all of these things. Big key signs that you're diving down the path of, okay, you need some of this time alone, downtime, use your word, Nicola. Repeating cycles. You're being influenced by other people's opinions constantly, like that codependency stuff's really starting to dig its claws in. 3, you're feeling stuck in that grief or kind of that processing trauma phase where you're not actually moving out of it. You're getting stuck in that victim mindset place, or that burnout phase. Like you're going down, you're feeling the edge, you're feeling the fuse getting shorter and shorter, the cup's getting emptier. It's happening. So pick it up before you hit that burnout, because it's a lot harder to come back up. That looks more like a leave of absence. That looks more like extended periods on your own, extended periods of rehabilitation, recuperation, right? And that doesn't necessarily work in your life, or it might not be what you want, right? So some important things to remember: the longer you take to take advantage of the fact that you need some time alone and incorporate that into your life, the more stress built up, resentment, blame, guilt, confusion, all of those things, the more you're going to have that. It's just going to get heavier and heavier and heavier. So listen. 2, ask for it. You can't expect people to just know. Just like Nicole was saying, I let my husband know. When I say I need downtime, going for it. Teach each other your language. You cannot expect people to just be able to read your mind. 3, being able to take space in your relationship is a sign of a really healthy relationship. It's the sign of you got this. It's you. You're doing this for you. That's a really good sign. So if you've got stuff around that, I totally recommend doing some work around it and taking a closer look. So what does that look like? Whatever the hell you want. Time, your space, time alone. It's all yours. Explore what you need. Explore what you want. And again, look at doing something like a daily ritual. Look at making rules like phones off at 9 o'clock. Look at a regular date night. Look at like a weekly or bi-weekly meeting where you check in with your coworkers or your family members. Look at creating a system so it works and you don't end up getting into that point of a burnout. Thank you, everyone, I'm going to pull a card because I can't not. It's a tradition. And in the spirit of taking space and the idea of it being self-care, I'm going to use I'll show you. It is, and that's backwards. Hold on here. And it's kind of, you can tell that I've used it. It's used. See, it's all coming off. But the Angel Therapy deck. I love this deck because it really does. The difference between Oracle cards and Tarot cards, if any of you guys follow Tarot or Oracle cards are generally smaller decks with kind of more of an answer. And Tarot decks are going to be your 77 card deck with your major and minor arcana that'll tell you a little bit more about your story. So these ones are kind of, it's a 44 card deck, and they gave you a bit more of that kind of like an answer. So in the spirit of our self-care and our our therapy, our time alone. Let's see what our angels, our guides, our highest spirits for the highest good here. What do they got to say? Oh, awesome. I love this. Very cool. So this is the card that I pulled here, and it's talking about crystals. So it says the energy of crystals support you and help you with your present situation. And they totally do. I don't know if many of you work with crystals or do crystal incorporate into any of your energy healing or have them around your house, but they are living entities, right? Like they keep growing, and if you put a raw crystal in the sun, it will continue to grow. Like they are living, just well as everything is. Everything's sentient beings. So incorporating your crystals into your self-care, like picture this, just like a super luxurious bubble bath with a really nice essential oil that's totally just soothing your muscles, and bringing up these beautiful images as you smell it and breathe it into your whole essence. And you've got all your beautiful little crystals on the side of the tub. Or maybe, you can kind of see them around. You've got candles, and they all have different healing properties, right? And there's amazing websites, tons of them out there. You don't have to look far to look for the properties of crystals and the different healing components that they have. So, and they're meant to be like amplifiers. So, I don't mean like take a crystal and swallow it and there's your magic pill. It doesn't work like that. It's the energy that they hold amplifies the feeling that you're trying to bring into your life. So that's awesome. So I really love that, because it's definitely and not only that, but it can be like going to I know there's a couple of really amazing gem and crystals and rock shows that are coming up. So, even time for you alone, take a couple hours when a couple of those are coming up on the weekends and go by yourself and pick a couple that really speak to you. Listen to your gut and just walk around, and whatever you gravitate to, whatever your energy is pulling to you, that's what you need. So take that time for yourself to bring something new and exciting. Or maybe you're already totally knee deep in the crystal awesomeness, going and bringing something new into your world. I love that. You can't make this stuff up. I don't know if any of you guys watch Doreen Virtue's videos, but she literally says that every single time. That's why I do it all the time, because you just gotta love that lady. You do. And I think next time, next week, actually, we're everybody Elevated Lifestyle is taking a vacation. Speaking of time alone and self-care, everybody's going to be taking a little vacation. DL's heading over to PEI. Me and Ricky are taking vacation. We're actually going to go to Future Forest, an amazing music festival. We're both so excited to go to. So everybody's taking a little week off next week. I even think Ricky's going to be taking a week off from his Wednesday videos. So we'll be back in a couple weeks. Don't forget about us. And in the meantime, also take time for your self-care, guys. Go out there, explore yourself, do something new and exciting, because it's totally worth it. You're worth it. You are worth it. Thank you all so much for joining me this week for this week's episode of Conscious Living on taking space and taking care. And I'm going to add the Elevated websites link in there also, just because, it's always good to just know where you can access some. If you got any more questions, or you totally want to dive into a coaching session just to explore who you are, get to know yourself a little bit better, we're always have sessions that are available for gifts. So remember that, and that's an option too. Love you guys all. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in a couple weeks.